Hello, I'm Andrew Nichols. The lawyer representing former Conservative Senator Mike Duffy made some explosive allegations today. He says Duffy's living expenses were cleared from day one by the leader of the Senate and by the Prime Minister's office. That set off a heated session of question period today. Take a listen to what the NDP's Megan Leslie asked Prime Minister Harper just last hour.
But Mike Duffy's lawyer today spoke at length and provided lots of new details. According to him, documents from the PMO outline how this involved, quote, cash for repayment. Can the Prime Minister confirm that his office threatened to kick Mike Duffy out of the Senate if he didn't go along with their scheme?
Clear that we expect all parliamentarians to respect the letter and the spirit of any rules regarding expenses, and if they do not respect that, they can expect there to be consequences and accountability for their actions. Mr. Speaker, I will just say this. I've noticed, obviously, Mr. Speaker, the NDP's instant opposition to the Canada-Europe trade deal. And I guess, Mr. Speaker, the reason we see them asking these kinds of questions is because on the big issues, they're wrong.
The government's leader in the Senate, Claude Carignan, was asked to respond to the allegations being made by Mike Duffy's lawyer. Carignan says he will reply tomorrow in the Senate chamber. Joining us now to discuss these new Mike Duffy allegations is NDP ethics critic Charlie Angus. So, Charlie Angus, what's your response to Mike Duffy's lawyer's claim that the PMO was aware of his housing expenses from day one?
Well, I think what we have to put in context is, when we add what the RCMP have already brought forward in their statements to the court about a larger conspiracy within the Prime Minister's office, what we hear today is that the plan involved the coaching of Mike Duffy and possibly other senators. They're not named. That there was a plan in place, that money would be paid. Mike Duffy would keep his mouth shut, and they would actually, they were obstructing the work of the Senate audit. And that this was all done not by an lone individual, as the Prime Minister has said, but by Mike Duffy, or Nigel Wright refers to as we. The Prime Minister's office was orchestrating this secret payoff and this cover-up. This is very, very damaging to a Prime Minister who's appearing more and more that he has misled the House on this issue.
And so what are you suggesting here could... I know you're suggesting that this was wrong, at least ethically wrong, if all of this is true. But are you suggesting something more?
One of the things that we're dealing with is an unprecedented situation of the RCMP investigating the Prime Minister's office for a crime. What they are investigating is a secret payout to a politician that has all the hallmarks of hush money. Mike Duffy claims he did nothing wrong. We have to take his lawyer's word with a grain of salt about how about Mike Duffy, the victim here. But what is clear is that the $90,000 payout was to make a political problem go away, and we'd learned earlier from the February 20th email that had surfaced and from the police accounts that the money was being paid so that Mike Duffy would keep his mouth shut, that they would all go along and they would sweep this under the carpet. And that would constitute a crime? That would be illegal against the law? Well, to make a payment to a senator, and I'm not a lawyer, so you'd have to speak with constitutional law experts, but the Criminal Code of Canada is clear that to make a payment to a politician in return for a favor is certainly a crime. To receive a gift of $90,000 and not report it is certainly would breach all the ethical codes. But there's larger issues here now in terms of breach of trust and fraud that's being investigated. So we now find out that the Prime Minister's office was telling Mike Duffy, you go along with this or we're going to have you kicked out of the Senate. So the Prime Minister himself, I think, is extremely damaged, but the Senate as an institution is certainly damaged, because if it was an old boys club, as Mike Duffy says, and if, as he's alleging, that they told him, hey, as long as you say you're entitled to money, you should be able to collect money, to turn around and then say it was gross negligence, the Senate can't have it both ways. So either it's okay for senators to take money because they're senators, or Mike Duffy committed gross negligence. So now the Senate is certainly in a big bind, but not nearly as big a bind as the Prime Minister.
What do you want to know from the Prime Minister about all of this?
I think the Prime Minister needs to come clean with Canadians. He was asked a series of simple questions last June. He he only showed up for 5 days out of the 5 weeks when these questions were being asked. He looks like a man who's on the run from this issue, who doesn't want to come clean with Canadians. The question is who was involved in the Prime Minister's office? Because clearly, we see Mr. Woodcock's name mentioned again today. That's mentioned in the police statements. We see a number of members of the Prime Minister's office, a number of senators being named, that they're saying that it was that it was the Prime Minister's office cooking this up. So the Prime Minister needs to tell Canadians either, yes, my staff had direction to do this, or no, they all did this, I didn't know and I didn't bother to find out. Either way, it's extremely damaging for Stephen Harper's credibility as a manager and as a leader who told Canadians that he was going to clean up Ottawa.
Mr. Angus, good of you to take the time. Thank you very much.
Great being on the show. Thank you.